please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, looking under the approval of minutes, has everybody had a chance to look at that? Is there any additions or corrections? Is there a motion to accept them as presented?
So moved. Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, the consent agenda, all items with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests, in which event the items will be removed from the general order of business and considered separately in its normal sequence on the agenda. And I know that there is one that has been pulled, and I believe that's 6F. That's going to be pulled. Is there any other ones going to be pulled?
I just need to make a correction on one item.
Okay.
Item 7M should say HAUG instead of Apex Engineering.
Okay, we'll change that to HAUG then, okay. Okay with those corrections, anything else then? All in favor of accepting the consent agenda with those changes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Wait a minute, before you go on, Your Honor, I think Gloria's going to want to know who made the motion, and nobody made the motion, so I will.
Oh, okay.
I'll second it.
And I believe Madeline seconded it, so we're good to
It's got to
go.
be second, okay. We've got a motion and a second then. Before we go to the public hearing, we've got Delray Chivers is here tonight, and she's a grad student at NDSU, and she's here tonight. She's working on a community development degree, and one of her class assignments is to attend a city council meeting and take notes on our actions and report back to her class at NDSU. So, Delray, glad to have you here tonight.
Thank you.
And then, before we go to public hearing, I'm going to go to Pat with the Partnership for Health, item 6C. You want to do that, Marty?
Sure. Item 6C, the Partnership for Health is requesting a letter of support to include in their request for proposal Active Places demonstration projects. And Patrick, if you could explain that to us, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'm Patrick Hollister with Partnership for Health. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Minnesota has issued an opportunity for communities across the state of Minnesota to apply for a sponsorship of up to $20,000 for what they call Active Places demonstration projects. So these are activities or structures or signage, or it could be a variety of things, but they are supposed to be of a temporary mobile nature as demonstration projects to communities about how great it would be if something permanent of this nature would be in the community. They want to encourage people to get out and walk and bike more and make communities more bicycle and pedestrian friendly. That's part of their motivation to do that, and that certainly fits with our motivation as well. So Partnership for Health, a couple months ago, when we discovered this opportunity, we had some meetings and we thought, let's go for this. Let's go for this sponsorship. Let's apply for the $20,000 and let's involve the cities of Fergus Falls, Detroit Lakes, and Breckenridge. So Partnership for Health intends to apply for this $20,000 for activities involving those three cities. And I think you've probably received these photos, I imagine, in your agenda packet. I know that the Park Board and the Public Works Committee have seen these. This is one of the things that we're thinking about doing in the three cities. These are sometimes referred to as pop-up parks or mini parks or parklets. They're sort of temporary parks that can be placed, typically they're either placed on the sidewalk or they're placed in a parallel parking space, or maybe they can take 2 or 3 parallel parking spaces. And all kinds of activities can happen on these. They can serve as temporary outdoor seating for businesses or for restaurants, let's say, or cafes or something like that. They can be used for a variety of purposes. We've already had a conversation with your chamber, and Carrie and I have talked about creating one of these and sort of moving it around town during the summer. We think that it could help enhance some events or some festivals, and it could also ease some of the pain of a street reconstruction project, because we know that there's always a lot of inconvenience that accompanies something like that. So as Mary Poppins said, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. So we think that this will add some fun to what might otherwise be sort of an annoying and inconvenient but necessary event of a street reconstruction. So we're really excited about this. All we're asking for this evening is for the council to authorize the acting mayor to provide us with a letter of support for our application. The application is due on Thursday, and so we're running around collecting letters of support to show Blue Cross Blue Shield that our communities are interested and excited to do this. We are not this evening seeking any specific approval for any specific activity. We understand that anything that we do within city right-of-way, obviously we will need to come back to you separately for permission for that, whether it's through Brad Green or through the Public Works Committee or through the council itself, and we will certainly, to the extent we need any approval by the city, we will certainly seek that and make sure to get it before we do anything.
Thank you, Patrick. Yesterday, Karen Nitskorsky with the Partnership for Health came to the committee meeting and explained or answered any of our questions, and I'd make a motion that we provide this letter of support.
Second.
Okay, you got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this? Any questions? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and then Bob, here's that letter that he needs.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Patrick.
And then he can take that too. Okay, at this time, we will adjourn our regular meeting for a public hearing in regards to receive comments on Peter Street and Fortune Avenue reconstruction project, consideration to a resolution ordering reconstruction improvements and preparation of plans, specifications for Peter Street and Fortune Avenue reconstruction project, intersection of Roosevelt Avenue and Peter Street, and on the north side of Fortune. Staff reports and resolutions are in your packet, and we also have the cost to the neighboring business as well as the BTD there. I'm going to call on John Pratt to go over that here first, and then we'll have some discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor, now for the technology that come over here.
Bruce, give me a hand, will you?
Take over for you on that.
I know, we never did it. So.
No. Didn't even know this was 2 years.
You need experience.
I guess so. The right man for the job.
Okay. Now I have to be very brief. As the Vice Mayor indicated, this is a public hearing for considered improvements to Peter Street. We've had some discussion on this over the course of the last few months. The purpose this evening is to have a public hearing. It's a requirement of State Statute 429. Through this, we've tried to get some input, comments from the impacted and affected property owners. I think we've met with all of the owners, at least more than once or twice in most cases. So we'll go over the existing conditions, what the improvements are, and the costs and the assessments. The map on the screen shows the location of Peter Street. I would venture a guess a lot of people don't know where it's at. It's very short. It's a stub street that comes off of Randolph Road, right to the west of Schultz Bus Garage. And it's effectively a 1 block long platted right of way. Right now, there's not much in the way of the street there. It's a very minimally improved street. It's a dead end. Basically just provides some access to the adjacent properties. There was an improvement to that roadway requested by BTD in response to their building expansion project, and they're going to have a new employee parking area, and that parking area would be accessed, for the employees anyway, it would be accessed off of Peter Street. So to that end, we completed a preliminary engineering report back in November, and that was accepted by the City Council. Sewer and water exist on Randolph Road. The utilities really don't come into play so much for this project. The properties that are there are generally served off of Randolph Road. There are some properties north of Fortune Avenue that are not served. Those areas that are in orange are properties that currently are not serviced by sewer and water. As I indicated, the street really isn't much of a street at this point. It's roughly 24 feet wide, no curb and gutter. It's not very well defined. It sort of meanders through the right-of-way. It's offset to one side a bit. We don't know when it was originally constructed. My guess is it's been improved upon through the course of time. I know the Public Works Department does blade it and do some minimal things to it annually. There's no real defined drainage or storm sewer. It just sort of flows off the hill down onto Randolph Road. So the proposed improvements. In terms of utilities, we're not suggesting any significant utility improvements. We have to relocate a hydrant and install a provisional water service. Those unserved properties to the north of Fortune that I indicated earlier, we've looked at some alternate means that if we needed to serve those in the future, we have an alignment coming off of Chris Street and Fortune Avenue where we could get service to those properties. The proposed street improvements, effectively it's just a 32-foot wide bituminous surface road, curb and gutter. It'd be a 10-ton design just to accommodate the commercial traffic that's in that area. We'd have more defined accesses and driveways. We'd center up the road in the right-of-way, and other than that, not much in the way of vertical or horizontal alignment changes. It'd be a half cul-de-sac at the north end of the street, simply to provide people a place to turn around because there is no connecting road. We also widened the street at Randolph to accommodate separate right and left turn lanes as you're getting onto Randolph Road. The runoff, we would make some improvements there to capture that by the curb and gutter, typical urban street. There'd be a new catch basin that would have to be put in. That stormwater ultimately gets discharged to the highway, the railroad ditch, and then in turn into the Highway 10 ditch, which is all part of the Highway 10 stormwater treatment system. So this is just a picture of the proposed improvements. You can see the road and the cul-de-sac and how it widens out then at Randolph Road. Estimated costs. The bulk of the costs in this project, of course, are the street costs at about $155,000, and we have some other minor costs for hydrant and storm sewer and lighting improvements. Total cost of just about a little over $184,000. Typically, a project like this would be funded with city funds, and a portion of those costs would also be through special assessments to the adjacent properties. Now, the city did also obtain a EDPI grant, I have that spelled out later, to offset 50% of the project costs, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But our costs, just for a matter of background, our assessment policy typically is on a street, the city assumes 50% of the street costs, and 50% are assessed. The city will assume all of the storm sewer and hydrant costs, and typically service laterals are assessed at 100%, but what we're putting in is a provisional one, so we assume that under the city share. So with this, you can see a table up here that would allocate the costs out based on our typical policy. About $77,000 being assessed and about $107,000 being city share. Now typically those assessable costs are then allocated to the properties in accordance with our special assessment policy. We look at the total footage available by the assessable cost by the footage to determine a rate. This is fairly irrelevant at this point, but under our standard policy, these are the rates that we'd be looking at. There'd be about $150 a foot, resulting in costs of about $10,000 to BTD. 22,000 to Garnes, and just short of $45,000 to Schultz Garage. At first pass on this, that didn't, given the situation, didn't seem like an equitable distribution of these costs, so we looked at this staff level and made some adjustments. We was talking to some property owners and revised those costs to something that was perhaps a little bit more equitable. Those numbers are up here now. That brought BTD up to $45,000 and Garnes to about $11,000, Schultz to $22,000. And after that was complete, then we got our grant. Larry pursued a grant, business development infrastructure grant. Covers 50% of the project costs. That $92,000, generally speaking, we tried to allocate that based on everybody's participation in the project cost. So in other words, if you're paying more of the project cost, you got more of the grant allocated to you, and so forth. So that was our starting line basis of how to allocate the $92,000. Through that and some further negotiation with property owners, these are the costs that we are presenting to the council and recommending for approval. This would result in a total assessment to BTD of $30,000. Garnes would pay $3,500. Schultz would pay $7,000. City of Detroit Lakes have just shy of $52,000, and then the grant for $92,000. As far as moving ahead, tonight we have our hearing. If the council approves the project and authorizes design, we would get moving on that through the course of this spring. Tentatively trying to bid something, I think, around May, and then construct it sometime over the course of the summer, followed by an assessment hearing next fall. I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, I've got one question. We're going to add Dan Street on that too, correct?
Correct. The idea is approximately a year ago, we authorized the design of some improvements to Dan Street. We've sort of been waiting to try to pair that project up with another like project. Both these projects are similar in nature, so we would bid them under one contract, hopefully generating some more attractive bid prices.
Maybe we could put the lights back on and then we'll open it up for questions. Okay, at this time we'll open up for questions. If you have a question, please come to the podium and state your name and then give the question then. Any questions? Any comments from the audience? Dave?
Dave Welty, BTD Manufacturing. I guess I would want to thank the city for the work. John and Larry, I think, as John stated, we're expanding the building and we needed the parking lot. And we have the parking lot built. It's not big. We've been using Peter Street and it's working out good. We have the problems that John talked about, it's a little big and all that, but that's why we're here to get that fixed. So, but we appreciate their efforts. I think what we've come up with is equitable. I mean, we realized going into it wasn't really fair for Schultz and Garnes to pay a lot on this, and I think what we're left with, the $7,000 and $3,500. I think you could argue that they're going to get that value, maybe not immediately, but sometime down the road. But basically, I just want to thank the city. I'm excited to be able to go home and not have mud on my shoes.
Okay, thank you very much, Dave. Any other comments then? If not, I'll turn it over to Marty. For approval of these costs.
Which one is that? Or what do you need, just a motion to?
Just a motion to accept those, yeah.
Oh, okay.
There
Oh, there it is.
You got that.
Okay, yep. Make a motion to approve the fee structure and to go ahead with the project on Peter Street. Does that make sense?
Okay, there's a.
In the matter of reconstruction improvements, preparation of plans and specifications for Peter Street and Fortune Avenue, intersection of Randolph Road and Peter Street to the north side of Fortune Avenue.
Okay. Do we have to put part of Dan Street in there too? Would that be?
No,
yeah,
that
would be-
street was done
that'd be
separately, we're just gonna combine them.
Combine them together, the bid, then, okay, all right. Okay, there's a motion, there's a second. Got a second. Is there any discussions on this then?
I just want to thank the city staff for working so hard on this and getting the grant and pulling all the entities together and making this project work. I think it's going to benefit everybody here.
The cost of streets are pretty expensive. One block for $184,000, it's almost unbelievable. That's what it came out to, so it's kind of interesting. Well, we have a motion, a second. If there's no discussion, then all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries in. So at this time, we'll adjourn the public hearing. We'll go back to our regular meeting then. And then we'll go to Bruce Imholt, item 5A.
Thank you, Your Honor. Is that how I refer to you, as Your Honor? Say, by the way, I noticed Councilman Waller had to take a little minute to screen down on the, so if any of you get lost, I do have the paper copy right here. I can tell you
I
what's going on.
just showed him that, yes, a lot faster.
That's a whole private thing then. Anyway.
We're learning.
5A, consideration of a resolution adopting findings of fact and reason for approval of the variance application of Naomi Erickson at 1014 Villa Lane. The Planning Commission has reviewed this, recommends approval, and so does the CDC, and so I so move.
Second?
Need a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, this is for consideration of resolution of adopting findings of fact and reason for approval of the variance application for Naomi Erickson at 1014 Villa Lane. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Item B is consideration of resolution in the matter of approving the final plat of the replat of Outlot A in Longbridge Heights. We've been through this before. Planning Commission again recommends approval, as does the CDC, and I so move.
Second?
There's a motion, a second. Is there any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Item C, Your Honor, we're deferring. I think there's been a number of discussions, and we need to clear up some points, so that'll be deferred until the March meeting.
Okay, item C is deferred.
One item not on the agenda, Your Honor, is, and I'll have Larry Remen, our Community Development Director, address this, but there has been some news about a project on South Washington Avenue. I know the public and the council have been interested in what's going on there, so Larry, if you could give us an update on that.
Well, briefly, there is a project that's being proposed at Washington Avenue and Westlake Drive. It's a multi-use project that will include a restaurant, a 69-unit Fairfield Marriott Hotel, and 9 condominiums. And the public hearing has been advertised, and that will be held at the February 26th Planning Commission meeting at 7 p.m. right here. And the other thing that's going to happen is the developers are also requesting some tax increment financing. So the Development Authority will be holding a meeting to move that forward and order the preparation of the tax increment documents and set public hearings, which are probably going to be in May.
Okay, thank you, Larry. So, exciting news. Again, if anybody's interested in coming, that's February 26th, 7 o'clock for the Planning Commission meeting.
Did you say 26th?
26th.
At
February
7?
26th then?
At 7.
You said 69 hotel units?
Yes.
69 rooms, yep. All right, very good.
And that's all under CDC.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Next item is under the Public Works, and we'll turn it over to Marty Waller.
Thank you, Your Honor. One item that's not listed on here is yesterday we had Pam Mortensen come in and talk about the rededication of Gar Park and some activity that's going to be happening later this spring. And also I need to add one item to the agenda, 6I, if I can. It's a request for the use of the park, of the city park by the Chamber of Commerce, Rec Department for the 37th annual Arts and Crafts in the park on Sunday, July 26, 2015. We discussed this at the meeting yesterday, and I so move approval on that.
Okay, there's a motion, there's a
Second.
second to that. Got a second. Any discussion on that? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 6A, let me move a few things around on my screen here first, Bruce, sorry. 6A, consideration to the request submitted by Mark Bug to establish time limit parking for the 7 spaces located behind Bug's Ace Hardware and Price Jewelers. We discussed this at the committee meeting yesterday, and at this time, we'd like to take no action, and we're going to be studying the issue of the downtown parking area, and their recommendations should be brought back next month. Item 6B, consideration to the request from Verizon to erect a cell tower in the city park. We discussed this issue yesterday at the meeting, and we're recommending no action at this time until further information can be gathered. 6C, Partnership for Health, oh, we already did that one, sorry. 6F, we pulled off of the consent agenda. Consideration to the request submitted by Tim Hoberson to hold a wedding ceremony at the City Beach by the Armory at 1220 Rossman Avenue on June 6th. Again, no action at this time. Further information needs to be gathered.
Oh, so can I clarify that we're not approving this then
No.
tonight?
Right.
Okay.
They came in and, what'd you say, they want to have like 200 to 300 people?
Yeah, they've invited 300 people,
Yeah.
and they want it southwest of the landing, and we're trying to get more information.
We need more info.
And what I've seen, they didn't request blocking the beach off or anything, to really try to deal with it. And I guess I've recommended we go to People Park, they can reserve that, and close to the Army, they'll be close to the Army, but they were suggesting maybe people would, and then we didn't get a chance to discuss this, we just found this out about an hour ago, that they were going to invite, 300 people are invited, they're going to tell them to bring lawn chairs and take over the beach just southwest of the Rossman Landing. So I think we could, if you want to just hold on that, we can find out more and bring it back.
So item 6F is pulled. Is there anything else then, Marty?
Yes, I'm sorry. Bob just corrected me on item 6B, the consideration of the request from Verizon to erect a cell tower at the city park. We did discuss this at great length, and the recommendation by the park board was to deny this request, and I so move that we deny the request to erect a cell tower at the city park.
Okay, there's a motion to deny the request.
Second.
Is there a second? Okay. Any discussion on this? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
That's all, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Next item is under finance. Jamie March Erickson, please.
Item 7A is approval of the 2015 fee schedule for the Detroit Lake Country Club. The information is in your packet. There is not a lot of change. They've had a good year and look forward to another good year. So the committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for the new fee structure for the Detroit Lakes Country Club. Is there any other discussion on that? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries.
The next item is a consideration to a resolution approving miscellaneous purchases from Leighton Broadcasting Company for 2015. Do you want to speak to that, Bob?
Yeah, there's a requirement in the statute just to acknowledge that we have one member of the council is also an employee of Leighton Broadcasting, and that you've reviewed the fees and everything is in order. I think it's more an acknowledgement that you were aware of it when you.
Committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for the approval of the resolution. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
I would abstain.
Okay, David will abstain then. Any other discussion on that, by the way? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next item.
7C is consideration to resolution approving miscellaneous purchases from Swanson Repair Incorporated for 2015. The committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for Swanson's Repair. Any discussion on that? Not all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item D is consideration for a resolution approving the purchase of insurance agent services from Marcus & Bear Insurance for the years 2015, 16, and 17. Bob, do you want to speak to that one as well?
That would be the same as the items B and C above that, the last two items. It's the same circumstances. Madeline's an employee. She gets no benefit directly from any of this, but this is just an acknowledgement that you're aware of that when you approve that.
Okay.
And again, that was, we took quotes on that from 3 companies in town, and that was the low quote, plus from Marcus & Bear.
And by a long ways, they were really
Yes.
low. That was an excellent bid on that. Okay.
The committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any discussion? You gotta abstain?
I am abstaining.
Okay. If not, any other discussion, I'll just say all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Item E is consideration to the approval of a cooperative agreement with MnDOT for the Highway 10 and Highway 59 reconstruction project. And I'd like to call on John Pratt, our city engineer, to discuss that.
We've discussed this, I think, a little bit at Public Works and also at Finance Committee to meet today. The agreement that we're approving tonight, it just lays out the various responsibilities between the city and MnDOT for the upcoming Highway 10 and 59 improvement project. The agreement has things in there in terms of short-term responsibilities during construction, long-term operation and maintenance agreements, who's doing what in the way of mowing or maintenance to stormwater ponds, paying for electricity, lighting, things of that nature. So to my knowledge and based on my review of the agreement, there's nothing in there that has differed from what's been presented to us over the course of the last year. So we're recommending approval from that standpoint. Also, and probably most importantly in the agreement, it outlines our cost responsibility in the project. And likewise, there's nothing in there, I don't think that's surprising. It's fairly in line with what we expected. The costs on the project as a whole have crept up over the course of the last couple of years. And Jamie had asked me to just kind of briefly run over the costs. There's a couple of sheets in your packet. One would be a kind of a cover sheet on what they call a Schedule I, and that outlines the cost with the MnDOT project itself. But we have costs as a city outside of just the MnDOT project that we've incurred through right-of-way acquisition, wetland mitigation, and we started the project out on Highway 10 last fall. And so all of those things I tried to summarize into one spreadsheet. Effectively, on this project, the city is going to be responsible for about $5,900,000. So just shy of $6 million will be the city's investment in this project. As a whole, the entire project is somewhere in the category of about $15 million, all said and done with MnDOT's contribution and the city's contribution. So fairly large project. So of the $6 million, we've secured about $1.5 million of municipal federal aid. Every so often, we're given an allocation of federal money through our municipal state aid account. So we'll be utilizing that on this project, again, to about $1.5 million. We're also going to advance our municipal state aid account. And that amount is going to be roughly $1.7 million. That's going to cover costs like street and storm sewer, some of the right-of-way, some of the wetland mitigation and things of that nature. There'll be about $130,000 coming out of the sewer fund. Actually, I'm looking at an old sheet. We are not taking money out of the sewer fund, I'm sorry. We'll be taking about $50,000 out of the electric utility fund for our portion of street lighting. MnDOT pays for a portion of the street lighting and also does public utilities. But the city will have about $50,000 there. We are going to bond for about $2.4 million, and in that bond, there's various costs, mostly for utilities, sewer and water improvements, and lift station improvements, a lot of which are already under contract. We'll have about $95,000 in special assessments and $300,000 from the food and beverage tax to help offset the cost of the multi-use trail that's going to be constructed through the project. So that's a rundown of it. Questions?
Any other questions for John on this at all?
I have a comment.
Okay, comment. Okay.
Yeah, and Gloria, I appreciate if you can make sure my comments are reflected in the minutes here. When this project first came up and I, expressed my concerns about the cost primarily of the tunnel, so I don't really have a concern with the agreement, but I do have a concern with the cost that Mr. Pratt just went forward. In my years in the council, I've been very supportive of city infrastructure projects. I think that's important for the city that we continue to build and do the things we need to maintain our infrastructure, and you can see that that's gotten the national and state folks in problem. And when I was a minority vote on this the first time, I understood that, and when I've been a minority vote in the past, I always like to make sure I can get behind the decision of the council and move forward and support the decision. And I could probably have done this if it was just the issue of, while I disagreed with the way the frontage road quits at Walmart there, I think that still is a bad thing, and I disagree strongly with how MnDOT has laid out where they're putting the access and the signal lights on Highway 10. Those are issues that, while I disagree with you, I could compromise on, and I could say, yeah, let's move forward and get the project going. But I've thought about this since the original vote, and I just cannot understand why we're spending $1 million, and that's only our share as a city, on that tunnel under 59. To me, if that benefits MnDOT, and if MnDOT really wanted that, they should be picking up the cost of that. And I know there was a lot of discussion. I'm not blaming anybody on our staff. I'm not blaming anybody in the council. We negotiated, and that's the way it was. That's all they were going to come up with. I would have preferred to call their bluff and say, before we gave municipal consent, either we're not going to give it until you come up with more money, or they're going to delay the project. And if they would have delayed the project, then maybe that would have put it off a few years, and we could have analyzed a little bit more whether that tunnel really works. But I cannot for the life of me understand how people are going to come out that road, because it's not a direct route to downtown, and they're going to have to sit and wait for the Soo Line train to get to that tunnel. So I'm just don't agree with the costs that we're spending on that tunnel, and that's why I'm going to vote no on this.
Okay. Is there any other discussion or questions on this project?
The committee did discuss this today at our meeting, and we recommend approval, and I so move.
Okay, there's a motion to approve it. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on this? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next item on our agenda is approval of 3 new liquor license fees related to brew pubs. The first fee is $175 for on-sale brew pub malt liquor per year. The second is $175 for off-sale brew malt liquor per year. And the third is $500 for on-sale brewer tap room per year. The committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this at all? Any questions? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item G is consideration to the request made by the Becker County Veterans Service Office to waive the arena rental fee for their stand-down event scheduled for April 23rd, 2015. And I would call on Bob Luiso to give us some information on this.
Now, this is an event being put on to assist veterans that have returned to the community. The council will recall the community of Detroit Lakes is a yellow ribbon community, and as part of that designation, we agreed to do certain things to try and support the veterans that are returning and the veterans' families while they're here and after. And this is part of an ongoing effort that's being put on by a number of agencies and organizations in the community to help provide those services. And so in the past, we have, as part of our effort, we provided the use of the arena in the past at no charge. And so that's what the nature of this request is. It's been a good program. I think several people on the council have been at the program or are aware of it. And I think it's a good thing for the community to do, and I think it's one way that we can help pay back those people that have served us and served our fellow countrymen.
Thank you. The committee has discussed this and recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and second then. Any other discussion on that? All in favor of that motion for the Yellow Ribbon project, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item H is authorization for city employees and city council members to attend the 2015 Working at the Lakes Economic Development Summit on Wednesday, March 18th. The committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
The next item is to approve purchase of a new police squad. There were two bids. Nelson Auto Center in Fergus Falls provided a bid of $26,192.95 for a Ford utility SUV, excuse me, and Weber Family Ford provided a bid of $26,199. It's about $6 difference or so. By purchasing locally, we can save the cost of sending two paid staff down to retrieve a vehicle. So we recommend approval of purchase of the vehicle from Weber Family Ford at a cost of $26,199, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any discussion on that? If
This
not, all-
is a budgeted item.
This is a budgeted item, yes. So all in favor of buying the new police car, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item J is consideration to a resolution allowing the transfer of $16,500 from the general fund to the airport fund. The committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for transfers of funds for $16,500 from the general fund to the airport. Any discussion on that? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item K is consideration to a resolution allowing the annual transfer of $484,500 from the liquor fund to the general fund. This just offsets expenses for us. The committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to transfer $484,500 from the liquor fund to the general fund. Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Last but not least, consideration to a resolution authorizing a loan of $80,000 from the liquor fund to the equipment fund for purchase of armor police radios as authorized by the city council at our September meeting. The committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
There's a motion and a second authorizing the loan of $80,000 from the liquor fund to purchasing the armor police radios and authorizing the city council at their September 9, 2014 meeting resolution to purchase these radios. Any questions on that? If not, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else, Jamie?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, next item goes to Marty Waller for Public Safety.
Thank you, Your Honor. We had a couple of points of discussion yesterday. Eric with the Subaru Ojibwe Forest Run presented to the committee the plans for this year's event coming up in August. There's no action required by the council. He's been working closely with Brad and Chief Agerbrotten in putting together some new plans for this year. It should be a fun, exciting time. And then I just wanted to highlight that the police department responded to 833 calls for service, and the fire department responded to 14 last month.
Okay. Anything else, then, Marty?
No, sir.
Marty, was the chief shaking a lot of hands last month? Or?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what happened there.
I'm not sure.
Interesting. That might be a story in itself.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Liquor and Gambling Committee. Van Winter, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have one item to add to the consent agenda, or add to the agenda here in addition to the consent items. I believe it was last month the council passed ordinance 386, which allows for liquor, wine, and beer licensing primarily for tap rooms, brew pubs, and off-sale brewer malt for malt liquor. Anyway, what we need to do tonight is to approve a summary for publication of that ordinance. Rather than publish the whole entire ordinance, then we can publish just the summary. There should be a copy. I think everybody should have gotten a copy of the summary at this point. Paper in front of you here. And so looking it over, it's just a summary again. And so I would move approval of the summary for publication of ordinance number 386.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion, a second for summary for publication number 386. Any discussion on that? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else in there?
Bob had something.
But just to note for anybody in the public, Mr. Mayor, if someone wanted to see the entire ordinance, they could stop in the city office anytime. It is available to the public. So.
Okay, so if somebody in the audience here or on television wants to come in and take a look at that, they can come to the office here and we'll take care of that.
Yep, and that information will be included in the summary too. So.
Okay. Next item is Public Utility Commission, Bruce Imholt.
Thank you, Your Honor. Two items, well, three items, but first two on the agenda is consideration to approving the GIS request for qualifications. The RFQ is in your packet, and the Public Utilities Commission reviewed this morning, recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
There's a motion, a second for the GIS request report. Any discussion on that? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Item B is resolution accepting the facility plan for the wastewater treatment facility and authorizes the submitting of the facility plan to the MPCA. I know a number of council members, staff, were at the meeting a week ago, February 2nd. We've received some public comment. We had members of the public at the meeting. This is the process we have to go through to meet the requirements of the MPCA. The Public Utilities Commission recommends that we approve this resolution, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to accept the facility plan for the wastewater treatment facility and authorizing the submitting of the facility plan to MPCA. The resolution is in your packet. Is there any discussion on that? Before we vote on this, I just want to let people know that this is, maybe, Vernell, if you can maybe give a little update on that, when this is going to take place as far as what kind of the planned start date on this, just to let people know where we're at on that.
Yeah, Mr. Vice Mayor, I think we're still looking at probably the end of 2020 for completion of the project. Construction start probably 2018.
2018, okay.
Yeah, we've got to go through the design process and everything else, yeah, so we're a few years out before we start putting a shovel in the ground.
And then if we get the proper grants, which it looks like that we're going to be able to get, the cost approximately is going to be, where is that going to be at?
Total project's about $30.5 million. We're looking at about $6 million worth of grants.
Okay.
And that's early preliminary numbers.
Okay.
Question, Ron. You know, we know that this is going to increase our rates. When does that take effect?
We'll start looking at that for the budget for 2016, and we'll go into a step increase on our rates, so we don't see that, nobody sees the impact all of a sudden. We're going to phase this in over the next several years.
So is
Yeah, that's a good question, Jamie, and definitely, we discussed that at Public Utilities this morning. I know that we've already increased the rates for 15, but beyond that, we're probably going to have a more step-up plan, but we want to bring that in gradually, so your question is very appropriate. The Commission's well aware of what we need to do there, and even what we do is not going to get us as close as we'd like.
Okay, so there's a motion and second to accept that then. So all to the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay.
One last thing, Mitch Wimmer is chairman of the Utilities Commission, retired. This was his last meeting today. Mitch has been on there 9 years, very good input, very active, went to a lot of, as Vernell would know, he went to a lot of the state and Missouri River meetings that were involved with the utility, so he did a great service to the city. I know you came this morning, Ron, to thank him for his service on behalf of the council, but again, if any of you see Mitch, thank him for his service.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'm going to call on Bob to go over these few items for the city administration items. We got a few things there. Bob, do you want to just kind of go over those?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The first item is just a technology plan. For anybody that's watching, the council has purchased, we have purchased iPads for the council. It's actually cheaper for us to provide you all the information that has to be sent out, to do that with technology as opposed to pen and paper like we used to do. And so this policy really applies to our use of computers, social media, websites, those types of things. And we just updated that based on all the changes that are going on with the technology there. So that's the essence of the policy. I don't know if any members of the council have any questions about that, but I'm glad to try and answer that.
Bob, I don't have a question about the iPads, but we have talked before about, having the ability to digitally record our city council meetings for minute purposes and some of our commission meetings, development authority meetings. Is that on the agenda at some point?
That's one of the things we've talked with. We have a technology committee that goes through all the different items and prioritizes different things, and I believe they've discussed that. I don't recall exactly where that is on the priority list, but it's one of the items being looked at.
Good, thank you.
Okay. And then you also have another item there, item 11B.
Item 11B is a fragrance in the workplace policy, and there are different people that have a sensitivity to fragrances, be they cologne, be they perfume, other types of things. And so this is a policy that would be enacted just asking other employees not to wear fragrances that could or would be offensive to other people. It's not a mandatory policy in the sense that we're going to be doing any kind of a smell test with anybody, but it is an advisory kind of a thing just to make people aware that this can be an issue. We do have actually a couple of employees that have some sensitivity to that type of thing, and so our staff has been trying to be real conscious of that, and so but we wanted to make sure that if this comes up in the future, that it was at least a reminder, a voluntary policy that people to be aware of. So.
Okay, thank you. Anything else that you want to bring up there, Bob?
Well, we should have them in our policy.
We need to vote on that.
We need to vote on them.
Okay, so let's go ahead and vote on. We vote on all of those, 11A, B, and C so far then?
So move.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion on those? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Okay, motion carries then. Okay. Let's go to the mayor's agenda. The terms of Roger Josephson of the Detroit Lakes Planning Commission expired on December 31st, 2014. Roger has served three-year terms, is not able to be reappointed. The mayor recommends at this time that Sean Nygaard be appointed as a member of the Detroit Lakes Planning Commission. Is there a motion for that? Motion. We have a motion. Is there a second for that? We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of Sean Nygaard being appointed, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next one is item B, the term of Patrick Sauer of the Detroit Lakes Planning Commission expired on December 31st, 2014. Patrick Sauer had served out of Chris Burgess' term and does not wish to be reappointed. The mayor recommends that Matt Boki be appointed as a member of the Detroit Lakes Planning Commission. So is there a motion to appoint Matt Boki?
So moved.
Second.
Kate, motion the second. Is there any discussion on that? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Kate, motion carries. The last item is the Becker County Assessors has notified the city of the Board of Review for 2015 assessments will be held at the Becker County Courthouse on April 30th, 2015, starting at 9:30 in the morning. The mayor should appoint the Board of Equalization. Past appointments have been from the Finance Committee and also Ron Zeman, who has his training that expires on July 1st of 2018. I'm not sure, Jamie, do you know how members of your Finance Committee, if they're up to date on, you know, the training?
I've had the training.
There's no, the only current member is Ron.
Okay.
Okay, what can people, is there something we can do between now and April 30th?
They will be hosting the training, but it won't be before April 30th.
It won't be for that then.
So that's why if Ron can attend along with the Finance Committee.
Can the Finance Committee still come then?
Yes.
Yes, very good then, okay.
Your Honor, I would move that we appoint the Finance Committee and yourself as members.
Okay, there's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second, any discussion on that? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it looks to me at this time, we pretty well have everything under control here on it. So, Jamie, do you have any comments?
Nothing at this time.
Kate? Barb? Shay? Dan?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Marty?
No, sir.
Dave? Nope. Madeline?
Nothing.
Bruce?
Well, my comment, I don't know, before my comment, do you need to address this special
The special meeting?
Yeah,
Special
there was
meeting.
a discussion at the Finance Committee regarding the special council meeting. We had tentatively talked about having it on Friday, the 20th of February at noon. Checking with various council members, it does not appear that we would be able to have a full turnout. We hold it at that time, there's at least 3 council members that would not be able to make it. So as an alternate, we were looking at Thursday, the 19th at 5 p.m. We're trying to do this in conjunction with the county board, so we'll contact the county and see if that'll work for them. And if that doesn't work, then the discussion was to look at sometime Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. on the 20th.
Okay.
And the mayor, with the council's knowledge, I think the mayor can call a special meeting. It takes 72 hours public notice, 3 days, and we should have plenty of time to get that taken care of.
Do you want us to make the motion on this date then, or depend upon how we do with the county, because they want to come too, I know, so.
I think we should coordinate with the county first, and then just have the mayor call a special meeting, if that's okay.
We'll do it that way then.
So, Your Honor, I do have some comments. I just want to relate to the Polar Plunge, or the Polar Fest Committee, and I know Brad's department is working hard with them, but if you want to have an exciting February in Detroit Lakes, a Saturday, last Saturday, there was the Rotary Fishing Tournament, there was a bonspiel going on, the Kiwanis had their Adam Thielen fundraiser, which, by the way, Adam told me it was really great that a Rotarian came to talk at the fundraiser and welcome them, so thank you for doing that.
I'm glad I could do that for you.
It was a great Saturday. We had a lot of people in town. I'm sure there was other events going on. I think coming up, there's a lot of other events, but this Saturday, again, the Polar Plunge. There's fireworks at 7 o'clock down on the beach, so exciting time. And now that Detroit Mountain's open, I know they've got a lot of events going on out there, so lots of stuff going on in Detroit Lakes, which is great.
Oh, that's for sure. Okay, if not, there's nothing else at this time. Staff, did you have any comments at all? Okay, if not, this meeting is adjourned.